Being two of the biggest countries in the Eastern Mediterranean, Turkey and Egypt have a lot to gain by working together. But for nearly a decade, relations were at their worst, ruptured by regional conflicts and diplomatic rows. Trust was at an all-time low, regular meetings non-existent. But things are now changing. The deputy foreign ministers of both countries recently met in Ankara. It was the latest round of political talks that look to resume regular dialogue after years of near silence. Egypt and Turkey have not had ambassadors since 2013. It was the year when relations spiraled downwards after Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi was deposed in a military coup. The signing of a maritime deal in 2020 between Greece and Egypt also raised eyebrows in Turkey. But now, delegates from both sides are signaling they want to look past those tense years towards the future, a future where the U.S. might be less engaged in the Middle East and where Turkey's relations with the Arab world are improving. And to discuss what's at stake, joining me now from Ankara is Ahmet Keser. He is an associate professor of international relations at Hasan Kalyoncu University. And from Doha, Ali Bakir, he is a political analyst and assistant professor at Ibn Khaldun Center at Qatar University. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. Ahmet, Turkey and Egypt have agreed to continue political consultations, confirming their desire to make progress in areas under discussion. What's your take on that latest push for normalization? What's behind the timing?
Thank you very much for the question. As our audience would remember, these dialogues, the diplomatic talks have started in last May. The first round talks were held in Cairo, Egypt, on the 5th and 6th May. But now we see that both parties eager to improve the relations, and so that the second round is held in Turkey by the leading of deputy foreign ministers from Turkish side, Sedat Önal, and from Egyptian side, Hasan Sanat Loza. They led the both delegations, and we see there is a statement from the Turkish foreign minister, official statement, which shows that both parties want to pave way for improving the relations for further steps. Since 2013, we know that we do not have ambassadors appointed to both sides' embassies. And we have relations on the level of chargé d'affaires since then. Now it's time, I think, we can expect for the next coming days that both parties may appoint ambassadors, and then the diplomatic relations may gain a new acceleration at least.
So, Ali, Turkey and Egypt, we all know that have been at odds on a wide range of issues concerning their immediate neighborhood. Which issue needs to be addressed first?
First, I think that the fact that Egypt sent this delegation to Turkey to resume the talks is a positive step and progress in the right way. Both parties discussed regional issues and matters of interest in these topics in the second day. So these topics, I think that Eastern Mediterranean in particular was very important to Turkey, and probably Libya is important to Egypt. Other than that, they discussed also Palestine and Syria, among other topics. So according also to the release statements, both expressed their intention to normalize the relation depending on the mutual benefit. So I understand that they are prioritizing mutual interests rather than ideology, which is a good thing in this period in particular.
So, Ahmet, you've just mentioned it's been 8 years since the two countries saw their relations plunge. How will these exploratory talks help repair the mistrust between the two countries?
When it comes to diplomatic negotiations, if the delegations can concentrate on the mutual benefits instead of problematic areas, of course the problematic areas will follow it. But if we can start from the points which provide benefits for both parties, then it can go step by step. Because when you look at the Libyan issue, for example, both parties support the different sides. Turkey supports the UN-recognized official government, and Egypt supports the Khalifa Haftar side. So if you start from there, the negotiations might not go faster. But if you start from Eastern Mediterranean, for example, and if you can work on a maritime zone agreement, then it might, I think, contribute to the further steps faster.
Yes. So, Ali, the Eastern Mediterranean has one of the hotspots over the last few years, bringing the Turkish and Greek militaries close to conflict. And in the meantime, we know that Greece, the Greek Cypriot administration, and Egypt have all signed maritime deals. Now, if an understanding were to be reached, how would this impact Cairo's relations with the Greek sides? And do you believe that there's a room for Egypt to maneuver in its relations with the Greek sides while making a possible deal with Turkey?
Well, first, we should know that any possible delimitation agreement with Turkey will be definitely in Egypt's benefit. And this is one of the reasons that most probably pushed Cairo to these negotiations on this topic. So there is an interest on the Egyptian side. On the other hand, Egypt has some space to maneuver in this topic because the issue in Eastern Mediterranean is not finalized in a group way. So we have bilateral agreements between different bilateral states, which means that the problem will sustain. But if, assuming that Turkey and Egypt, for example, will sign such an agreement, there is an article in the Greek-Egyptian previous agreement that requires Egypt to notify Greek of such step if it happens. So I assume that any type of such agreement also probably will involve in a way or another Greece, if it agrees, of course. But this is something questionable right now. Turkey is pushing actually for a meeting or conference for the whole countries on the Eastern Mediterranean. So if Egypt convinced Greece of such a step, then maybe we can see a breakthrough in this topic.
Yeah.
But we have to be cautious, and we have to wait, because this step usually takes a lot of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Ahmet, we know that Egypt didn't violate the Turkish continental shelf while signing agreements with the Greek side. So was that a calculated move by Cairo so as to lay the necessary groundwork for future talks? Could you give us a sense of the Egyptian politics in this area?
Egypt and Greece has mutually signed an agreement on their maritime zones, but this was not against the Turkish maritime zone. Opposite, Egypt herself has lost 15% of their maritime zone. So if Turkey and Egypt may provide a new agreement, this will be a gain for Egyptian side as well. So that's why I think these relations, this point might be a good start point. And Egyptian people also is quite aware of this situation. And these improving relations may also provide a good environment, suitable environment for Gulf security and regional security, Syrian security as well, for further steps in the future.
So, Ali, how has Turkey's normalization with other regional countries, as well as its ambitions and its desire to mediate in disputes in African continent, pushed Egypt to open up to Turkey? What's at stake for Egypt? For example, is this a way of constraining Turkish influence in East Africa?
I don't see it this way. Of course, there are several considerations for the Egyptian side to involve in such talks with Turkey, and also there is other considerations for the Turkish side. But from the Egyptian perspective, one of these considerations is the benefit that the Egyptian can get in the Eastern Mediterranean. Second, the fact that the Egyptians cannot fight on two fronts, Turkey in the north and Ethiopia in the south. Right now, there is a critical situation for the Egyptians regarding the GERD project. So the escalation is beneficial for Egypt. And thirdly, the Egyptians must have calculated that the escalation with Turkey could create more opportunities and benefits for them even with their allies such as Saudi Arabia and UAE, because Cairo wanted lately to widen its space of maneuvering vis-a-vis Abu Dhabi after the huge influence Abu Dhabi practiced on Cairo during the last few years, and opening up on Turkey can serve this goal. So there is a lot of considerations, and these are some of them right now.
So Ahmet, what kind of interest do you think do Gulf countries have in a possible Egyptian-Turkish rapprochement, or do they have any?
When we look at, there is let's say, a mutual agreement in between Gulf countries and Egypt, especially related to the topics towards Libya and Israel as well. And also, on the other hand, we see that Turkey and Qatar has good relations. So if we can fix the relations with Egypt, between Turkey and Egypt, and also if Turkey can fix the relations with United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, this may provide a good security situation for Qatar as well in the future.
Yes.
So starting from Gulf to Iraq and to Syria, we can also, let's say, expand this security zone and prevent the migration issue also, starting from Syria to Europe as well. So it may provide help for all the countries in the future.
Yeah, so Ali, as far as security is concerned, how would Israel would react to a possible agreement between Turkey and Egypt? And is it in Tel Aviv's interest to see both countries mend their ties?
Well, Israel didn't criticize Turkey during the last few years in the Eastern Mediterranean issue, unlike Greece and Egypt, for example. So the Israelis have an interest to keep the channel open with Turkey, because if the East Med pipeline project was disrupted in a way or another, then they will not be able to export their gas to Europe unless they take the Turkish route. So they know this very well, and I think that any agreement between Egypt and Turkey could serve Israel and help it in another way. So there is also a mutual benefit here. But the Egyptians were actually annoyed from the latest UAE-Israeli economic understandings in certain topics, because it undermines the Suez Canal and undermines also some economic interests for Egypt.
Yes.
That's why Egypt is trying to also widen its opportunities by opening up on Turkey in this topic and trying to play its card in this way.
So we'll see if Turkey is called for a summit to be held by Eastern Mediterranean countries to address their disputes. Will be listened to soon. Gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk.